Alright, so we're going to continue from where we left off. Siman Kupei Zayin toward Sif Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, and Yud Daled. They're pretty short, and hopefully we'll finish this. Just want to review a few points from last time that need to be clarified. Sometimes it pays to read the Shach and Taz inside instead of trying to remember what he says by heart, because we may miss a point or two. And that is exactly what I think happened here with the Taz, at least, that I may have missed clarifying one of the points that he says. Even though the Maisa, we know the difference between the Shach and Taz and how they interpret the Ramah, but there's a little bit, an additional detail that he says, and you only catch it when you read it inside. So that was regarding Sif Yud, Royo Dam B'Shas Tashmish, Muteres L'Shamesh Pamshins Keshetithar, Mihu in other words, we were concerned with a woman who saw dam machmas tashmish, and this happened beleil shel tfiloso, and we were concerned, of course, that this is a pattern of sorts. In other words, there are two factors contributing to this. It could be the leil tvila and the tashmish. There's at least one example. There can be other triggers. So the Mechaber says there's only a chashash here. There's no veset kavua. This is, if anything, more like something that's not kavua, something out of the ordinary. So you have to give it a chance. And the next time around, the leil tvila, there's no relationship. Tzorich tzricha lifrosh. And of course, if nothing happens, even though they were not together and you supposedly need to see the two, to see the leil tvila plus the tashmish, but we said it was enough for nothing to happen at all in the leil tvila, for them to be able to continue being together on the following leil tvila. Okay. Now, it is possible that what happened over here, in other words, what happened to her was for all kinds of reasons. In other words, it could be that there was ptsoim, makkah, there could have been a bruise, there could have been other things that produced this. We're not sure. So at some point, there can be a bdikas shveferes. At a later point, at least. In other words, the bdikas shveferes is always a bdika that may come in handy, just as a process of elimination, if we're really not sure what's going on, if we still have any doubts. Right now, however, it's not being suggested. We don't really know why this is for. We do know that there is a possibility for a woman to see machmas tashmish, and that would be very, very tragic indeed. So we are hoping that it's not it, but we want to make sure. So in the case of leil tvila in Sif Yud, we take it slow, we give it a chance, and we see what happens. Nothing happens, they can go back together in the leil tvila. All this means is that leil tvila can be a problem. This does not mean that the following night will be the same thing. In other words, if they don't want to take a chance on leil tvila, and 2 nights later they want to try, well, of course, it's permissible. Here, the real issue was just leil tvila. Fine. All right. Then the Ramah came on and said as follows, that if she did in fact see 3 pe'omim b'chol pam b'biyor rishono la'achar tfilos, sha'achar tfilos, if she did see 3 times in the biyor rishono after the tefillah, asura lebalo ki lo ro'as o gimel pomim retzufim, so she's asura to her husband in the same way a woman is asura if she sees dam machmas tashmish 3 consecutive times. Sharei efshar litbol v'leshamesh imo, because she no longer can possibly be in a permissible way, that is, with her husband after tefillah. Sharei, every time she goes to the tefillah, sharei royo kol pam achat tfilaso. The words appear to be simple, somewhat clear, but the Shach and Taz somehow have a problem with it. So let me read the Taz inside first. The biyah rishono sha'achar tfilaso. In other words, this woman is coming back after the tefillah, and she's seeing dam machmas tashmish after the tefillah. So the Taz says, Ze ino doim lema shekosav Shulchan Aruch besoro b'inyan chashash re'iyos leil tefillah. He says, and this is the nekuda that I missed out, don't think that this is exactly the same as the example with the Shulchan Aruch previously, where there is a chashash of re'iyah, of her seeing something leil tefillah. The Shama tolo yachshash ba'oiso laila dafka. Over there, the chashash was that particular night. Another night she would be okay. Aval kan Over here, ikach shash machmas biyah rishono she'achar hatvila. Here he says the chash is the biyah, the first biyah, after the tvila, apal pishu zman rav achar hatvila. Even if that biyah will be several days later after the tvila. Okay? Now, not everybody necessarily agrees with this interpretation or this way of reading into the Ramah. That the Ramah specifically, says it could be any night. Okay, but that's the way you could read it. That's the way maybe it appears. That it does not necessarily mean that same night of the tefillah, that's when there was biyah, and that's when the problem occurred. Let's say they waited. The problem here, it recurs. And that's where we run into trouble, because we're already familiar with this halacha, that something that recurs 3 times, in this case, machmas tashmish, that this, of course, would be a problem in the future. We don't take any chances. This is definitely a problem. So here, for some reason, and we don't know yet why, the Ramah seems to emphasize it. He says that this really recurred 3 times, and the Taz adds, in those times are not necessarily that same night. Otherwise, that's a similar din to what the Mechaber says, and it's not the same din. He says it could be even more time later. As long as it's the Biyah Rishona, that's where we have the problem, that it's the first one. If the first one, and this could happen again and again, she won't be able to be with her husband. All right? So, Elo de Kasha, the Taz says this is difficult to understand. B'zeh this would be like any woman who is asur, having had tashmish 3 times in a row, where there was dam. In other words, what does 3 times in a row mean? Whenever those 3 times were possible, halachically. Obviously, if there's going to be dam machmas tashmish, the next day there won't be any tashmish. Halachically, she has dam. She has to go to the mikveh. Any time that she would be permissible to be with her husband, which would be the next time she's clean. If this were to happen 3 consecutive times, this could be in a short period of time, it could be in a more extended period of time. And the Taz seems to be emphasizing here that it's not necessarily the exact Leil Tevila, which is interesting. He says it could be even various days later, as long as it was the first Biyah, then that's a problem. But the Taz asks on that, and that led us to the second point in the Taz, which we already covered, that what's the chiddush over here? So the Taz says, but this is kasha. This is just like any other woman who sees 3 times her tzultim. Therefore, the Taz wants to say the ma'ire the afal pisha ben time hoyu biyas shel heter, even though this woman may have had some biyas of heter in between the 3 times. Those biyas of heter means that nothing happened. Mikol makom kan lo mehane. In other words, even though ze mehane bedin shachakach, even though those biyas of heter are going to be helpful, as in the din that we have later in the Ramah, talking about Yore Deah, because over there we're lenient, even though over there those biyas of heter are useful. The fact that she was okay, even though she was maybe not supposed to be lechatchila, but she was anyway. So we are lenient. She's pregnant. She gave birth, so she's weak. We attribute it to the birth, and even though biyas of heter, the concept of biyas of heter can be acceptable in the next din, here they're not. Over there it's okay because it's damarisha shachar aleida. V'zelo shayach beleil tefillah. This is not, of course, possible here. Beleil tefillah. So anyway, so the Taz says that must be the chiddush of the Ramah. That even though you may have had some occasion where the husband and wife were together in a heter way, the fact that they have 3 consecutive times after the tevilah, that the biyah rishona there was dam, she's a surah to her husband, and those in between incidents don't count. All right. So we had a question: how does an incident of heter occur in between? Every time she's going to go to mikveh, if she sees dam, she goes to the mikveh. That means the next time she's with her husband is the tevilah, or the day after the tevilah. What? So how do you have heter if we're saying that those times are always with dam? So we gave one explanation, one scenario, there's more, of where perhaps there's a difference between going to the mikveh after her period versus going to the mikveh after having seen dam 12 days later. All right. And that time when she goes to the mikveh after her seeing dam 12 days later, then she doesn't see. So she's only seeing dam, machmas tashmish, after she comes back from the tevilah over her period. All right, that's a scenario. Another scenario I think I mentioned was that she had twice in one night. She checked herself, but she didn't look at it. They ate until the morning, and she noticed the first one was bloody. Okay, there could be a possibility of a heter type of situation where she was permissible, because she's not aware yet of Dam Machmas Tachne, and of course we don't count it according to the Ramah. The Shach, which Ilan clarified very well, says like this. The Shach says, what's going on over here? She saw 3 times Ritzufim. What does it mean that it's like she saw 3 times Ritzufim? It's like she went ahead and did the wrong thing. That's what we need to emphasize. That the way you read the Shach is that she did the wrong thing, not that she just saw 3 times. She did the wrong thing, of being with her husband, again, in between, and she saw 3 times Ritzufim below Tevila. Now, what does that mean? Basically, there is a shita, and apparently this explanation in the Shach goes along with that shita. The one possibility for this woman to be with her husband, that we would call it an in-between time, would be Be'isar, not the heter like the Taz says. So that's why when the Ramah says that having seen 3 times on Leil Tvila makes her Asur Lebala in the same way she would have seen 3 times Ritzufim one after another. How could you have 3 times Ritzufim one after another? So the Shach says, Kiloimar, Kilu Ovro, Verosa Gimel Pamim Ritzufim Beloi Tvila. She never went to the mikveh. She saw 3 times, which is Be'isr. The Vada Belav, if you don't give this kind of a scenario, how are you going to find 3 times Ritzufim if she always usually has to go to the mikveh, has to go to the tefillah? So one possibility is to do it Be'isr. Okay. Now, I believe, I don't recall clearly, but from the Chavas Das has a little bit of more of an elaboration on this. It could be, from what he says, is that if this would be, like the Taz explains, if there would be such a scenario where there would be heter, maybe the Shach would agree that it's okay. In other words, it could be that there would be a machlokes Shach and Taz on another kind of scenario, but not the one that's mentioned Poshup Pshat in the Ramah, at least the way the Shach understands it. What's the chidush according to the Shach in the Ramah? What's the chidush? The Shach all doing is explaining the Ramah. Yeah, but nonetheless, how does he see? What does he see the Ramah contributing here? What's the chidush here? The chidush is that don't think that the fact that there are 2 factors, one Tevila and one Dam Machmas Tashmish, that as a result of the 2, right, this is triggered. In other words, there's Tashmish and there's Leil Tevila. Don't think that it's because of the 2. That therefore she sees Dam, and therefore if you don't have the 2, if you, let's say, she goes ahead and now decides with her husband to intimate another night, we'll say it's okay, it's just that night is a problem. Comes along the Ramah and says no. Don't think that as a result of the 2, that is why she sees blood, and that is why I'm saying that 3 times in a row and you're out. It has nothing necessarily to do with the tefillah. It just happens to be that it's Leil Tevila. But even if it would not be the Leil Tevila, it would be Asr. Once it happens 3 times, the chazak of 3 times means that the woman cannot be with her husband. So the chidush here is it's not just the Leil Tevila. In other words, you might say, okay, we see there's a problem. 3 times there's a problem with Leil Tevila. So let's try another night. No, now you can't. Whereas in the Mechaber, we did say another night would be possible. In other words, in the beginning, we have a chashash. If you have a chashash, it's only a chashash for the Leil Tevila. Comes along the Ramah and says, yeah, but if it happened 3 times, which is in some ways a continuation from the Mechaber, then of course, she has a chazaka, and it does not mean that she can be with him another night except for that Leil Tevila. So that's how the Shach would learn into the Ramah of what exactly is the Chiddush here. But the Taz, of course, takes it a little bit on a tangent, if you want to call it that, and says that there's more to this than what the eye can see. In other words, that there actually could have been days of heter or tashmish of heter, and still the Ramah would ask them to be there. Okay, anyway, I think that's enough for that part of the Ramah. The second part of the Ramah deals with Yore Deah. And Yore Deah, a woman, is weak. And there were several scenarios in Niddah. Either she saw Gimel Pa'omim Retzufim, I should say. She saw the first halacha is 3 times in the Bia Rishona after Leidasa. Right? So she's seeing 3 times in the Bia Rishona. And so she has 3 births. And she has the Bia Rishona. She sees after the Leida, the dam. Or Rosso Achar Koleido Gimel Pa'omim. After every one of the births, she saw 3 times in a row. Ubentayim lo also, but either one, the first halacha or the second halacha, in other words, first halacha being ro machmas tashmish after each leida, and it happened 3 times. Second halacha saw 3 times after each leida. Ubentayim lo also, that is for sure. Bentayim lo also, in the meantime, she did not see. Yesh shekosu lehokel leatiro lebalas. We said last time, some want to be lenient to permit her to be with her husband, because we attribute it to the weakness of her birth. Shehuku atzdadin, he's bruised up, and therefore, and not later. In other words, it's possible for her to see close to the time of her birth and not later on. It's similar to a makkah. This is already the third din. That, of course, lechatchila, if she's 3 times in a row after every leida, that was the second halacha, she would have to go consult with her Rav. What should she do? So that's what the Ramah says. Kol zeim kvar ovro v'shimsho. But she already went ahead, she didn't ask. And she went ahead and had bias of heter, and she should have asked. Nonetheless, we're makel here too. Right? What do we say? We say, okay, she should have asked, but she didn't. And in the meantime, she saw bias of heter. So we say, okay, apparently, even though it was 3, and she should have asked, she didn't. Now she saw heter, it's okay. Why? She just had a birth. So we're still lenient.
How long?
Oh, very good question. The Shach has a very interesting take on this, and he says like this. Niddah, I'm going to read it inside. It's always better to read it inside. And this goes on the portion of the Ramah that says, "Avalim ra so gimel pomim retzufim achar leida lo talino beleida." We're not going to attribute it lechatchila, at least not to the leida. At this point, this is the last halacha in the Ramah. You need a bdikas shroferes. This one you really got to figure out, because 3 times after leida, because technically speaking, a leida, it's for several weeks. Let's just say several weeks. It's normal for a woman to be bleeding. Nobody really talks about the time frame. The Shach says that in speaking about achar leida, he says something very interesting. Nirali, dafka rosol achar lamed gimel lezochor v'samach vov lenekevo. As you know, during the time of the Beis Hamikdash, there was something called dam toihar. There's the difference between the amount of tumah for a zochor and a kevo if a woman has a boy or as a girl, was 7 versus 14 days. Besides the tumah days, there's also something called dam toihar, clean blood. And after this whole process, she would bring a korban. So you have 40 total days for a zochor, and you would have 80 total days for a nekev. So the Shach says that during these days, Lamed Gimel, 33 for the zochor, 66 for the nekeva, it would be okay. Okay, so he says, what the Ramah is saying, I believe he says, it's only after 33 for Zochar and 66 for Nekev. Aval toch hazman hazeh, during this time, kiban de minadin dam Torah, who since according to the din is still classified as dam Torah, as it is explained later on in Simkuf Tzadik Dalet. Niddah de'ein lehoitzi isha mibala v'shukach. I would not divorce a woman because of this. Nay, it's true. Deichmiro itno shelo livol al dam Torah. Obviously we take dam Torah, any dam during those period of time, we take it seriously as real dam. That is aino le'atzmon. As far as the dam, the status of the dam, we may be machmir with it today. But we're not going to use that chumrah to also force her to divorce her from her husband. He says various points can bring it down later on. Also gabe ketem. There's other such examples that we're not so machmir, I guess. Especially that this is after birth, we're lenient. Yeah.
Today, when they did it then too,
right.
The woman is not larger, the cut.
Sure. Open up a partial C-section, but not a real C-section. Right.
Right there.
Right there. Right.
Right there. Open it up whatever.
Sure. Exactly. Very good point. Yeah, that's very good. That's exactly it. In other words, there could be some additional cutting or surgery that may cause her to bleed even longer as a result of that. Oh, sure. Yeah, so this is more of a suffix, and it's more treated more like a makkah. We can attribute it to that. She should still, of course, if it happened 3 times after the Niddah, she should still ask. She needs a bdika shoferes, the Ramah says. But the Ramah asks towards the end, even though she needs a bdika shoferes, if she did not check with the shoferes, she should have. She still muteres the tashmish zeh shelo rasa, the tashmish where she did not see anymore. Adif bdika shoferes is even much better than the bdika of a shoferes. So she's not supposed to do it. She's not supposed to have the tashmish before she checks it. But if she did have tashmish without the bdika shoferes and nothing came out, no blood came out, then we see that everything is okay, and probably up until now we attribute it to the Niddah. She was weak and she was still bleeding. That's the cool over here with Niddah. So anyway, so this shach is very interesting that he says that in this period of time, 33 days of Dam Torah for Zohar and 66 days of Nekeva, during those days, he would still be Mekel. So when would you have to be Machmir? After, beyond those days. In other words, what he's trying to say, that what the Ramah says, that if it's 3 times, that you have to check, you have to ask, that would be beyond the 33 and 66. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a problem. In other words, you don't have to be Machmir. Okay, Sif Yud Aleph. So here in Sif Yud Aleph, you have a different kind of scenario, and that is a woman who will see machmas tashmish every 6 months, perhaps. Okay, so the Mechaber reads like this: a woman who saw machmas tashmish. So in order to be concerned here, you have to have at least an incident occur twice. So she saw it tashmish, and then 6 months later she saw it machmas tashmish. Muteres lebala, sharelo kovo begimel vestes. Right? She's still muteres. It didn't happen 3 times. Shovim, in other words, shelo kovo begimel vestes shovim. They're not equally 3 times machmas tashmish, 3 equal intervals. Velo bedilug. In other words, it did not even happen bedilug, which means even a little bit later. Even though it was not exactly, but sometimes bedilug means 28 days, the next time 29 days, this time 30 days. In other words, there's no pattern at all, not yet. So since there's no pattern 3 times, like you would have in a regular veset, therefore she's not asura, she's muteres lebala. Mihu, the Mechaber says, there's something here, 6 months later, similar to what we saw before, there's a chashash. Choshishin la'achron, we are choshish to the last time. Pam echos, this last time, 1 time. Therefore, when we see, when the 6 months time comes from the last time she saw the blood, asura oina achas, she will be asura 1 oina, as we explained, whether the night or the day, that's called 1 oina. That's it, just for chashash. Now comes the second halacha. But if it happened that she was kovea veset to see dam machmas tashmish 3 times, veset shove muteres leshamesh bein veset leveset. Then she would be able to be with her husband between the veset. Ach yemei veset poreshes ad sheyakeh shalosh b'omim. But during the times of the veset that she sees it, during those time frames, she would be asura until she uproots it 3 times. In other words, this is not leil tvila, so it's not like she can't be. She can be between the veset. It's only happening every so often. And speaking about every so often, we had here in the Mechaber, we had what's called a haflaga, an example of a certain amount of days that have transpired from one time she saw machmas tashmish to another one. 6 months. Comes along the shach and says, don't think it's only haflaga. In other words, time that has elapsed that you have to be concerned with. You have to also be concerned with another scenario where she's seeing it perhaps on a certain day of the month. V'nireli dehu adin leveset hachodesh. Chosheshet kegoin im shimsho pam beis. The second time was betu benisan. 15th day of Nisan. Chosheshet achakach tu be'ir. Asur l'shamesh betu be'ir. And if she does not see betu be'ir, chosheshet le'afloga. She still has to be concerned about the actual 6-month period. But she doesn't have to be concerned anymore about the 15th day of the month. Even after the first time, she always already has to be concerned, according to the Shach. Maybe it's the day of the month that's causing it together. It's two factors contributing. The day of the month plus the tashmish. But leveset aflaga, you always have to have 2 times. You have aflaga, you have to have 2 times. You had it occurred this month, and you had it 6 months later. You've had to have had 2 times to establish a period of time. Whereas if something happens on a particular day of the month, you don't need it to happen again. According to some, 1 time is enough. It happened on the 5th day of the month. Well, maybe next month around, on the 5th day of the month, I would have to be concerned just on that day, of course.
So in effect, she gets another.
Right. In this kind of incidents that we have to be choshesh. So these are examples of chashos. Like we saw in the Sif before, in Leil Tevila, where she's given a chance, let's see what happens. There could be something else that's causing it. So the Shach adds to the Mechaber, it's not just a haflaga of 6 months. You would also have a similar concern with the Yom HaChodesh, that she would have to watch out the next time. But if it doesn't happen the next time, it's gone. I don't have to worry about it. So the second halacha in the Mechaber was pasha that if she did see 3 times, damach masnash on a veset shove on equal amount of times in between them, she would still be muteres shamesh ben veset leveset, right? In between, because we're not expecting she should see it there. Ach yemei veset, but these veset that she has already established, this pattern, poreshet, until when? Until she uproots it 3 times. Just like a pattern is established with 3 times, it is undone with 3 times. So if 3 times in a row, it doesn't seem to be coming back in the same way she had it until now, then it's undone. And this, of course, we will see more in depth when we talk about vestas, which is one of the most important parts of Hilchos Niddah, is what makes a pattern and how do you undo that pattern. And once, of course, you undo it, you don't have to be concerned about it. All right. Let's see here. Anyway, so based on what the Shach told us, that there could be a concern about a certain day, what that means is that it's only that day and not another day. So, obviously, according to that, she would have to be on the lookout until that no longer poses a problem. All right. Sif Yud Beis is the ultimate consequence, I guess we can call it, of Roya Dam Machmastarish. What happens if that is the fact? If that is the fact, unfortunately, a man, the man cannot continue to live under the same roof. I think that's a good way of translating the word lashos. In other words, he can't keep his wife. He loves her very much, wants to hold on to her, keep her, even not married to her. No, you cannot really be under the same roof. Even if he doesn't want to be with her. In other words, intimately. Elim Cain, there is one way perhaps. If he wants to have a shalish, he wants to have a third person, a broker you want to call it, messenger, a third party, that will be the one in between them. But he cannot go and be with her unless he goes with witnesses, watching him, guards. In other words, it could still be possible, but it's a problem. In other words, what is the Mechaber saying? You basically have to divorce this woman. And of course, this is already assuming that she couldn't get any help from doctors, because the next step would be marry someone else. There's a step of Dikas Troferis later on as well. But with this husband, not only can she not be intimate, he can't really live with her, even if he says, I'm not going to be intimate. That's what the Chiddush here is. Why? Because we're concerned they still may become intimate. You don't take a chance. What is the promise? When it comes to arayas, forbidden relationships, no one can say I'm a tzaddik, and nothing will happen. Now, what's an automatic question that one can raise here? What's this different than a niddah? A niddah, a woman is a niddah. Yichud is mutar. You're allowed to be with your wife if she's a niddah, even though you can't be intimate. One cannot be intimate with his wife if she's a niddah. Hakam yichud by a niddah is mutar, and here also Lashhoisi says you can't keep her. Because with Anida we're not concerned. Because with Anida the husband says she's going to be muteres for me. She's going to be going to the mikveh in a few days from. So the Yetzer Hara is not as strong. Here, we said she's a surah. Yeah, but I won't touch her. No. Now, obviously, it's important to repeat. Even though we're saying she's a surah, if there is a doctor out there, and the police can speak about it, there's a doctor out there who says, I assure you from my experience that I can heal her, then maybe he can continue to be with her. It all depends how long, of course, this says, I'll take care of her. All right, if he has proven himself, this is something that's discussed in the police. It's not so simple. It has to be that he has proven himself. He has helped other women who have had similar problems. Then we say, okay, this can be taken care of relatively quickly. He has proven himself, then it's mutar. We will see it.
To live together,
They can't be intimate yet. No, of course not, right? Not to be intimate yet, but to live together, right? The Pesach Shuvah here brings a suffix here of the base mayor, and really we will see it in the last halacha of the Siman. But anyway, he talks about a similar situation where it's not damach mastachish per se, but a woman who always bleeds, and she has a very hard time going to the mikveh. In other words, being clean. Do we say that then it's also to live with her, or is the chumrah only beroya mach mastashmish? In other words, it's not. There's no blood coming out of the tongue as a result of the tashmish. She bleeds a lot. And she's very rarely, if ever, becoming clean. Always bleeding. So, the reason why one would want to be lenient and say you can is because she's always tmeya. She's like a niddah. He won't touch. She's tmeya. She's unclean. By a woman who sees damach mastashmi, she can actually be clean. She can go to the mikveh and be clean. So there is a possibility that this man will be with his wife. And not consider the fact that 3 times, the intimacy produced dam. But this woman who sees blood so often that she's rarely, if at all, becoming clean, maybe he can let her live with him. He won't touch her because she's tmeya.
Well,
yeah.
In the concern,
right.
that there might be together. Why wouldn't we have that?
No, what is be'isr? Be'isr means that after she goes to the mikveh, she's clean. It's still an isser, because after 3 times you're not allowed to be together, right?
No, I'm saying with ill concern.
Yeah.
In the previous sin, about them being together, be'isr here.
We are. That's the suffix. The Beis Meir says perhaps it's not the same suffix. Why? Because a woman who regularly sees blood, she's regularly bleeding, she's having a hard time becoming clean, she will be tmeya. A man will not be with a wife who's tmeya as easily as he is with one who is clean. She's clean. It was just a problem of the dam machmas tashmish. But she's clean. Here she's not clean. She's just like a niddah. Are we going to be strict with this woman and tell the man you can't have her under the same roof? We're concerned you're going to. Maybe it's okay because she's tmeya. He won't touch her. So some poskim say, why you do want to divorce her anyway? Because the man has an obligation to fulfill pru-revu. What if you could have 2 wives?
Mm-hmm.
So the halacha is like this. If you would have 2 wives, then there wouldn't be even a problem of royal machmas tashmish. He would just go and be with the other wife. He wouldn't be obligated to divorce. L'chayra. I mean, obviously today where you're going to have this situation of having 2 wives, but theoretically, once a person has 2 wives, there's less problems. Well, you have another set of problems as a result of 2 women in the house. But as far as the problem here of the chumrah of damach mastashmish, or tzorach legorsha, or you have to divorce her, you can't also lashoiso, you have a second wife, we're not concerned. And same thing, lechora, if you already fulfilled prur vu, perhaps you wouldn't have to divorce her if she's always tmeya. So the main concern was if she's always tmeya, maybe it's not, he doesn't have to divorce her, but if he doesn't have children, he may need to do it because of that. All right, the last two halachas are very important halachas concerning chos and kala. Haboyel es habesula kama peomim, v'roso damach masnashon. As you know, a besula, a virgin, once the besulim break, usually there should be some blood. There are situations where there's no blood, even though the besulim are there. An older girl, I'm told, I haven't really done research of when yes and when not. We do know things that break the besulim, other than relation. That we do know. We also know, the commentaries explain here, the Meforshim explain that if she's a very young girl, she may not even have that much dam yet. So the halacha would be different a little bit for a young girl. But let's assume we're talking about normal age. It was after 13, 14, 15, girl already has her period, there's already blood, besulim of course. So this blood is not dam niddah. Nevertheless, chassan and kala, husband and wife, after the first time the besulim are ruptured, they cannot be with 11 days instead of 12 days. So we'll get to that eventually. We'll learn halachas about that. But suffice now is to say that this is not exactly dam niddah. It's not the exact same thing. All right. However, it can become complicated. What happens if they're together and there's blood? You say to yourself, well, wait a minute. This is not machmas tashmish. This is the besulim, right? Or maybe not. How do I know? So Aboyle is a besula kama peomim. He's with the besula several times, and for the last few times, roso dam machmas tashmish. It appears to be that. Mechaber says, "La'oilo machzekinon shehem dam besulim ad shetishamesh pam achas velo tire dam machmas." We're always going to assume, and this could be for the year almost, but usually less. We're going to assume that it could still be dam besulim. It's not all broken. The Mechaber is going to be more lenient here than the Ramah. You're going to see why. The Mechaber says, you know what? In the beginning, everybody agrees, by the way, with this. This halacha so far, yes, that we're going to initially assume that this is still dam besulim until there's one relationship, one tashmish, and nothing happens then. Oh, so the besulim are gone. If after that one time of being clean, after the tashmish, she sees 3 times machmas tashmish, then you could say she has a chazak of seeing 3 times because of tashmish. So what is the Mechaber saying? What do I need? What's the spacer here? The spacer is one event, one tashmish, where there was no dam. Oh, no dam. The besulim are all gone. But in the beginning, she's a virgin, has besulim, she's going to have dam besulim, supposedly. It could very easily be dam besulim. And it could very easily be that the dam besulim are still there. That's very possible. Comes along the Ramah, it says like this. Even if she did not stop once from not seeing, im ein la tsar klal, if she no longer feels any more pain b'shas tashmish, harei kechol hanoshi, then she's just like an average woman. Velo talinam b'dam besulim. Then we don't attribute it to dam besulim. So the Ramah is machmer here, and there's a lot of poisim that go along with the Ramah. Some say you can rely on the Mechaber. Ramah basically requires 2 things here, 2 conditions. In other words, it's the it's the initial, of course, first few times that the chassan and kala are together. We say, of course, this is dam besul as a result of it the first few times. And there has not been a time yet where she stopped, where she was clean. So we say, yes, it's dam besulim, yes. But it also, we need another requirement. She feels pain. Now, why would this happen? What's the source of the pain? It's very possible. Now, there's different reasons for pain, by the way, which the Mechaber and the Ramah don't get into that. But the pain we're talking about is the pain of besulim, being ruptured. And it's possible The poskim speak about this here, that there was not a bia gemura. Sometimes the chassan doesn't know what he's doing. How should he know? Or he's afraid, or he's shy, or he simply doesn't perform 100%. I mean, he didn't receive the proper guidance, whatever you want to say. And there was no bia gemura. There was no complete penetration. And if that's the case, the second time around, he may do it right. The first time around, there was no dam. And you wonder, what happened? Do you know why nothing happened? Or very little came out, which is another possibility, right? Because he didn't do it. And the second time or third time when they're together, that's when he breaks. That's when the Bisulim break. So it could be by the time that the second or third time she comes from the mikveh, or whatever it is, periods and so forth, then the Bisulim are broken. And he says, well, what's this? That's what was supposed to happen the night of the chassan, but didn't happen until now.
You as long as you're in the third month, it seems to be a long stretch.
No, either one.
Okay.
No, because let's say she got her period. Right,
Okay.
she got her period. All right, period. So the second time they were together was after her tefillah,
Okay.
And he said, wait a minute. You don't have your period, do you? You just had it. So what's this? Guess what? It could be the dam besulim that you didn't get last time. Sure. Very easily could happen. Very easily. So you really need the two, according to the Ramah. In other words, that she didn't stop once it wasn't clean. Because if it was clean, then from now on, she will be roya machmas tashmish.
If she doesn't know it was lost earlier,
Yes, it could be.
today?
There are possibilities where you may not have seen it. Some blood came out, but it wasn't noticeable. Or it could be dried up. It could be. Drying up, I've heard that it's a possibility with older. Or it just could be you didn't get it the first time, you got it the second time, but you didn't notice it. It was very little, and it was just cleaned. When she cleaned herself and washed herself, you didn't notice anything. But supposedly, you should be expecting some besulim on the sheet, if a lot comes out. So here, if there was one time where she did not see any dam, well, now we know that the besulim are probably gone, and therefore from now on she will be like an ordinary woman, and if she sees dam machmas tashmish 3 times, she would be asur. But the Ramah added on that, however, it still could be, there's a second important criteria here, and that even though she's still seeing dam, if she doesn't feel the pain, she has to also feel pain, because if she doesn't feel the pain, then maybe it is dam machmas tashmish. So that's a chumrah of the Ramah over here. Anyway, the Chasam Sofer brings down what we just said, that if we know for sure he did not complete the bia, we know he didn't do it right. Right? The later on the bias were gemuras. It could still very possibly be, even though she doesn't have, whether she has pain or no pain, it's very possible she's still having the dam besul. You don't have to be that machmir, because there's a chance he didn't do a good job the first time. The Maram, I think the Shut Maram also brings down that even if he's in doubt whether he did it right the first time, even if there's a suffix, we're going to be lenient. Because in the very beginning, for a Basula, it's very possible that what you're seeing is dam Basulim that are coming out little by little. What happens, the Shevet Alevi of Bosner discusses the following scenario. What happens if a woman has a relationship and does not check to see if she has blood? Do we say that this is considered as though she didn't, therefore from now on she will be like a woman who sees 3 times? Or do we consider it as though she wasn't intimate at all? He says we're lenient. For Basula, we're lenient, and if she did not check herself, we're going to treat it as though she was not intimate. In other words, she doesn't lose out her chance here. That could happen too. She didn't check. So what now? But next time she does see, what's this? Remember, dam machmas tashmish is not typical. It's not the usual thing. So, we have several leniencies, as we're going to soon see. Now, with the second condition of the Ramah, that there always should be tsar. Once there's no tsar, you don't rely anymore on the dam besulim. It looks like the Bach is makel on this. He's, in other words, on this particular scenario, that the pain will not make the difference here, but the shach and taz are machmer. That if she doesn't have pain, that means that she's just like any other woman. So this is the Ramah. The Ramah, I'm going to read it again. Afilu im lo poskel liros pamachas im ein la tsar klal b'shas tashim zarik yachol anoshim v'lo talinu b'dam besulim. That's the Chuvas Maran Padua. And then he adds, Mi sheyoytze dam mimeno derech pi ha'amo v'shimesh ha'isha toilo boy. Ayin lekamon. So he says, if a man is having some blood coming out from his urinary tract, the woman can attribute it to him. So this is, again, similar to a makkah, but this time the makkah is on the man. We can say, you know what, it could be the blood came from him, not from her. So if that's the fact, if that's what's going on, we can attribute it to him. What? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anything. Right. It all depends where it is, because if it's hemorrhoids is not in that spot. Right. So we're not going to say that it's because of the hemorrhoids that she sees blood there. I mean, right. Two are different spots. So it all depends where the injury is. Right, exactly. Okay, now the Pesach Tshuva on this says as follows. He brings down the Tshuva's Niddah ben Yehuda, that if she did see a few times without pain, even though it's kosher lehatir, we have a Ramah over here. She no longer has pain, and it could be. There's always a possibility that it is roy machmas tashmish. But he says like this: that if she has a veset kavua, she has a big advantage. If she has a veset kavua, and her relationship with her husband was of course shelo b'shas vesta, then we can add the opinion of the Mordechai, which we already spoke about before, who's lenient, that this is not roy machmas tashmish. What's the opinion of the Mordechai? The Mordechai says that a woman that has a veset does not become a surah beroy machmas tashmish, because most likely, right, it's not dam that is tameh. It's not dam niddah, because it's not her shata veset. A woman, therefore, who has a shata veset kavua, according to the Mordechai, will never have this problem. So even though we don't follow that, I mean, we're obviously concerned for dam machmas tashmish, and we assume the worst if it's consecutive. But we can be mitzaref this opinion of the Mordechai in the case where she has no pain. Say, you know what? She has a veset kavua. Even though she has no pain, Ramah says you have to be machmer. It's okay over here, as long as she does not have a relationship with leil tvila. That's what he says. I'm just quoting that. As long as she does not, she's not mishamish b'leil tvila. All right, that's good to know. That we have another leniency of the Mordechai we can apply in this kind of. At least in the very, very beginning, it's possible that it's done b'sunnah. Obviously, later on, we have to assume it's continuing on forever. It can go on forever. The last seif in the Siman is pretty much what we already discussed. If you dalet isha sheyesh lo makas uptsoim sheno yecholo litvol teisem mitachas bala kedei shelo yivatem b'piri v'rivyot. The Mechaber says that in his words, and he quotes here the Chuvas Arashbatz, that if she has wounds of all kinds, bruises, and she cannot go to the mikveh, she cannot become clean from this makas ptsoim, so she cannot go to the mikveh then. Teitze mitachas bala, the reason why she should leave her husband is kedei shelo yevatel mipiri v'rivya, in order for him not to, be able to, not to stop him from fulfilling his obligation to kind of the mitzvah of pru'urvu. Now this case can be a little bit tough. What if the woman says, I don't want a divorce? So this is one of those situations that the Shach, I believe, writes somewhere. It's brought down that if she doesn't, we basically force her. And how do you force her? You get a heter me'rabanim in this case. He has the right, he has the mitzvah to fulfill pru'urvu. So therefore, if she makes any difficulties over here, that's what they would need to do. He's completely in the right to ask for a divorce. The more complicated situations, of course, is when they are not, like each other so much that they don't want to get divorced. The question is, do we force it? So that's what we said before, that in this, if she's always tameya, are we machmer that they can't be in the same house or not? So they already have children. So here, from the Mechaber, it appears to be that the only issue is kedei shelo yivatem b'piri v'rivya. What if somehow he already had, from another wife, he had children, or even from this one? So this doesn't seem to be the same problem. That was the suffix of, I think, that was the suffix that we had before from the base mayor, right? She's not like a woman who's royal machmas that can go to the mikveh and become clean, so we're concerned that they may be together be isus also la shoyson. Mechaber says clearly. But here, if she's always like Mary, maybe like a Niddah. You know, it doesn't appear like the Poskim say that we would force him to separate, unless it's for the reason of being the kind, the mitzvah. You have situations where husband and wives, men and women, did not have children. The man has to, she's clean, and he has a mitzvah, and he's entitled after 10 years to divorce. And I heard that the Chazanish's wife told, her husband, they didn't have children. He asked her, maybe we should get divorced. And she basically said she would not survive. I'm saying it in a nice way. She would not be able to survive if she were to get a divorce. She would not live. And as soon as he heard her express herself in that way, dangerous to divorce her, he just dropped the whole idea. Now, did he mean it or not? That's another question. Did he divorce? I mean, obviously, every man would want to have children. But when the relationship is so close, today the halacha is that we don't enforce it. Even though there is a halacha that says, after 10 years, consider getting divorced and marrying a woman that can have children. In the olden days, it was less of a problem because you have a second wife. Well, of course, that's assuming that it's the woman's problem. Anyway, it's all mishamayim. That we always have to remember. And a person always has to daven, regardless of what problem he may have. It's no children, whether it's dam, whether it's royal machmas tashmish. We did not cover yet is, yes, you can try medication. It may help today. Don't forget that the more powerful way of hopefully solving any problem is to daven, be mispala to Hashem. Whether it's for the shalom bayis or whether it's for the other kind of shalom. Physically, they should be able together and to have a normal home. That, of course, can also be helped tremendously. Okay, that's the end of Kuf Pei Zayin. Hashem, come back in 2 weeks in Kuf Pei Ches.